Okay, I am starting a new project today that I am super excited about and hope works out. So my first step is going to be 2 layers of tacket on a black base tumbler. My tacket container is very tacky. I'm just going to use a brush and brush it on. And I'm going to let it sit and dry for about 10 minutes in between coats. Should be plenty. You'll be able to tell when it's dry because it won't look white at all anymore. It'll go back to looking like a black tumbler. And this doesn't have to be perfect. Every bit of this is going to get covered. So I'm going to be a little messier than I sometimes am with the tacket. So just get it on there. I don't want these big runs around the top though. And I do want to get the bottom. Make sure I get it all around the edge, because I am going to attempt to do what I'm doing on the bottom. We'll see how well it works. We'll see how well any of this works. It's an experiment. Alright, so I think I have pretty full coverage there. So, like I said, I'm going to set this aside for about 10 minutes. I'm going to come in and get a second coat, and then after the second coat's sat, I'll come in to apply my powder with you. Okay, I am ready to get my mica powder on. This is a color shift. It is no more Mr. Nice Guy from Woody's Goodies. It shifts from blue to purple. It should stay pretty dark, which I think I'm going to need. So that's why I'm starting my first attempt at this with a dark powder. Did not mean to dump it. But I'm just going to use a fluffy brush. This is just a Wet n Wild makeup brush from Dollar Tree. And I am going to start just brushing it on. Can you see that shift? Isn't that pretty? It's tacky, all right. Oops. This powder is so light and fluffy, it literally goes everywhere in the air. And I don't mean to keep spilling it. And I didn't already put a glove on, so I'm going to have to stop and do that in a second, because I am going to rub some of this down to get it smoothed out. But I am making sure I get my bottom coated. And making sure I have pretty full coverage with the brush. I know you've seen this part before. It's not that exciting yet. I mix my tacket over and over, about 50% water. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. So some people like to use it straight. I find that works best. And I don't think I mentioned that this is a 30-ounce skinny from Maker Flow. So I think that's everything I might have forgot so far. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to pop off a second and mix up some liquidy split resin and get prepped for the next step. So this is not perfect. I didn't apply my tack it perfectly smooth. I'm not really worried about it. It'll all come together in the next step, and you'll see why I'm not particularly worried. So that is it. I'm going to go get ready for the next step, and I will be back. So I changed my mind. I'm not going to do epoxy. I'm going to do this 3M Super 77 multi-purpose adhesive to do my next step. I think I'm going to leave the bottom as is, but I'm going to take this cello sheet. I didn't buy a big roll of wrap. I bought a 6-pack of bags from Amazon. They're 24 by 28 sheets, or 28 inches each. So front and back, it's a ton of cellophane. I thought I had a giant roll here, but it turned out that I only had actual clear. But what I'm going to do is crinkle this up really, really well. And I'm going to apply it to the tumbler. And I feel like this is going to end up being like a mermaid-y cup of some sort. But I'm going to spray the tumbler with the adhesive and then apply the cello over the top. So I will be back when the adhesive's ready for the cello to go on. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to do the bottom, but I changed my mind, so I crinkled up a little piece for that. I have a squeegee ready. I did put gloves on because this is going to be sticky. And I think I'm going to put the bottom piece on first and try and trim around it some. So I'm going to grab a couple pairs of scissors. And this should be tacky enough. So I'm not going to get like perfect, I'm sure. But I just don't want this much excess, because I may wrap the bottom edge down a little bit over this piece. So and I am hoping that this will stick and that the adhesive will kind of dry back clear underneath. It should, but so I'm gonna sit this on the bottom edge and I'm gonna leave a little bit of a gap there at the bottom. I'm just gonna start burnishing it down by hand. And hopefully it stays crinkled. I don't want any real flat spots. But I don't want anything like too sticking up. I don't want to push all of the wrinkles out, I guess is what I'm saying. And it's obviously not going to stick where the overlap is because there's no adhesive there. So I'm going to go ahead and just run my scissor up there to get the bulk of the excess off, which is also going to make it so it doesn't stick at the bottom. So I'm going to have to trim anywhere it's not going to stick. And I am going to, at an angle, run around my top edge right now and just get that part trimmed and out of the way. And I'll probably come back in with a sharp X-Acto and run that edge again. But I don't see any of the bottom part, so I'm going to swing around the bottom as well. So now it's wrapped. I'm going to let that adhesive dry really well. I'm going to roll it pretty hard on my table a little bit, just to make sure it's really, really tightly on there. The wrinkles I want, but I don't want air bubbles. So, and that's that little overlap. I'll have to get that trimmed closer as well. So, I'm going to let it dry, get it trimmed, and then I'm going to put some epoxy on it and see what the heck happens with it under resin, because who knows? I don't know if it'll disappear. I don't know if it'll hang out. I mean, I know it's going to be visible to some extent. I'm just not sure to what degree it's going to be visible. So, but between the iridescent of the cello and the chameleon flakes powder underneath, I think it looks pretty neat so far. So, and I'm sure other people have done this. I've only seen it done in a mold or on a flat art piece, so I don't know why it wouldn't translate to a cup, but I haven't actually gone and looked. It just jumped in my head, and I actually only ordered this yesterday, and it was here already today. So I jumped right in and haven't had time to do any research, so I'm just going to do it my way, and we'll see what happens. Okay, this has been sitting for a couple of days now. I'm going to try and shift you a little bit here. This has been sitting for a couple days. It's ready for a round of epoxy. And I'm going to try and move fairly quickly because this is liquidy split and it has been sitting long enough for me to coat 6 cups now. So this is going to take way more resin than this. This is just the first coat. So it's definitely not going to be fully coated at this point. I'm mostly trying to seal down any seams that might be sticking out and just making sure it's going to do okay under the resin. I should really have let my spray adhesive sit a tiny bit longer, I think, before I applied my paper, but I don't think it's too bad. And I do have some rough edges at the top. I will sand it after, probably after the next coat. So this is just coat 1 of probably 4 clear coats it's going to get before I move on to the next step. So, I'm not going to bring you back for every single coat. I'm going to, it looks pretty cool though. I will bring you back once I am ready for, like, let's say the decal step. So, that's it so far. Okay, quick update on this one. It's got quite a few layers on it at this point. Some parts are completely smooth, some are bumpy. I'm going to get my lay down here a minute. Sorry about that. Some are smooth, some are bumpy. But I'm going to give it a whole sand and then move on to the next step. But I think it's looking pretty cool so far. I don't remember if I'm up to 3 or 4 coats on this. But I'm not going to do another one before I sand. If I lose some of the edges and definition, I'm okay with that if it breaks it up a little bit more. So I will be back when I figure out what the next step is. I'm kind of torn between glittering part of it or just doing a peekaboo. I feel like the glitter might go over the top, but I feel like this Ice Queen color shift is like a perfect match. So I'm also going to look through though, because I do have one mermaid tattoo, which might be appropriate on this, and in that case it might just get a power wash or a little bit of a peekaboo. I can't remember what color the tattoo is though, so I'm gonna have to go look for that and get this sanded and figure it out from there. Okay, I am trying to get this cup done. It's been sanded smooth. It has another coat of epoxy on it. It feels pretty good at this point. And I still had no ideas for it. It felt very mermaid-ish, so I knew I was heading in that direction. So anyways, I cut 2 little decals. I'm going to put... I haven't decided if I'm going to put the tail on the bottom or coming off the bottom of the cup. I just cut black silhouettes for these, and then she's going to go on one side. So I'm going to do that. Smooth her down. I love when you think your cup is smooth and then you find out it's not. But whatever. Alright, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and put the tail on the bottom, which was my, or on the bottom edge of the cup, not the very bottom of the cup. That was my original intention, so I'm just going to go with that. Okay. So, like I said, I knew this was going to be mermaid-ish. And I was at the Dollar Tree again yesterday, and I found this 3 sheets of mermaid temporary tattoos. So I was like, oh, cool. This was the top sheet in the package. It was all scales, and I was like, oh, I can cut them up and make pieces. So I'm sitting here last night while something else was loading and trimming these all down. Now, the package opens at the bottom. On the back side, I slid the sheet out. Never looked at the rest, just set the package back down. Later, I realized that it's already got a bunch of them cut down. So, yeah. So, cutting them like this was a little bit of a waste of time. But I did cut an assortment. I don't necessarily think I'm going to use the yellows. I'm going to stick to the pinks and the blues. It also had some little shells that I may work in here somewhere. So, mermaid scales go down. But yeah, I'm going to get some of these applied to the cup. I may cut some of them down more. I may cut some of these little pieces off. But these things happen. I feel like I want this huge piece up here. I gotta pay attention because there's obviously a direction for this. My cup wants to roll that way. So I'm not gonna put a text decal on this at all. Just the scales. Scoot the rest of these out of the way so I don't get them wet. This is just a wet paper towel. And we'll see how well Dollar Tree temporary tattoos work. Hopefully they work like all of the Amazon ones. They always have tattoos, but I've never actually seen a set that I wanted to use. So, but I knew the mermaid ones I would probably use. Of course, I used my silicone spatula that I use to prop the cup when I need it. So that doesn't feel ready to release. Do it again. Get it wet again. So this one might not slide. Oops. And I may actually need to go get some warmer water. And they mostly disappear, which is kind of what I was expecting. I didn't want it to be like super overwhelming. So, perfect. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and get a few more sections in. I'm going to pause you real quick and go get some warm water. Okay, let's see if that works a little bit better. Get my next section ready. Go right to the top with this one. Excuse me. There's a little bit of crease in the cup right there still. Yeah, these backings just don't slide like the Amazon ones, but they were $1. So not the most super high quality. I suspect that if I were using them on just a painted base, they might release a lot easier. I think they might grip better to that surface, but they don't seem to be loving the resin. Alright, so I'm gonna fill in a couple more sections here and there with some of these smaller bits. And I'm going to go ahead and cut probably a few more off of that other sheet. Lost a little bit of that one, but I'm not worried about it. You don't typically get the cup wet first with tattoos, but I think I might try that on the next section. You can't even see those blue ones depending on what angle you're at. That one needs another minute, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut some of these easier ones out. I don't really have room for this whole big thing, but And I don't really want the yellows, the oranges, and the reds on this cup. Just want the purples and the blues. So some of them are a little distressed looking, but it's cool. Cut that into 2 pieces, I think. Actually, I'm going to cut this, and I'm getting this one a little wet, which is going to be a problem. I'm going to cut this into 2 pieces as well. Because I think I can fit this big one right here. I am overall actually really pleased with how this cup is coming out. I'm going to do another one, but I'm going to apply the cellophane differently for sure. Because I don't like the way the adhesive looked underneath here. Lost a little bit, but I'm okay with it looking a little distressed. I am going to try to get some of these onto the bottom. So I just dipped my cup right in the water, because why not? I do like the ghosting effect. I'm really hoping that that will show up on camera at all. I make no promises though, because who knows. It's even somewhat difficult for me to see with my eyes. A piece of the backing from another one. Whoops. Can you see that at all? Oh, you can see it. I can see it through the camera lens. Alright. So I'm going to do another one on the bottom. Whoops. Try and keep them facing the same direction. I'm making an absolute mess here. I'm getting everything wet. But that's okay. It's only water. It'll all dry. Just trying to push down on it some. Okay, so I'm just going to look around it and see if I feel like it needs more. I actually kind of feel like that's just about enough. I'm going to put a little bit more up here, just because I already have these ones cut, so I might as well use them. That was weird. This one's actually losing its backing. I'm not sure why that happened. but hopefully it'll come off, even if it rubs the tattoo back off. Okay. So that's basically a purple smudge now. So I'm just going to call this good. Leave it alone. I'll save those pieces for something else. Like I said, I might try them on a white spray paint at some point, or a colored spray paint, whatever. But I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to come back and get a coat of resin on it. It will probably, even though it is pretty sparkly already, add the tiniest hint of that diamond dust on here, just so the mermaid gets some sparkle and the tail. So I'll be back when this is dry. Okay, excuse me. I am ready to get my resin on here and get the turner turned on. Somebody's out mowing the lawn, so it's going to be a little noisy every so often. But as I said, I'm going to use my It's Pretty Personal Diamond Dust Girl's Best Friend. So I have my cup of resin ready, and I'm just going to use a tiny bit of this. A little goes a long way. So, because it is ultra, ultra, ultra fine. I'm going to get that mixed in. The diamond dust just gives a like all over shimmer. Just really, really beautiful. So, get this mixed up and get this on here. Alright, here we go. I expect to mostly just see the diamond dust over the decals. I think a lot of it's just going to blend in with the rest. That's my hope anyways. Just because this is such a sparkly cup to begin with. That may also make those tattoos pop a little bit more. Maybe. But not, again, exactly what I was intending when I started this cup, or when I had the idea for it in my head. But I'm pretty pleased with it overall for the test cup using this method, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing more in the future. Hopefully soon. So, I'm going to finish this up, get my glove off, and I will bring you down for a close-up because this is essentially done. At most, it's just going to get one more clear coat. And run my handle on my top edge. I did already clean up and sand this rim once, just to make sure that that cellophane was going to be well sealed. So, alright, gloves off. I'm going to give it a super quick torch. When you torch, it's only necessary to usually go once, so pay attention to where you start and kind of stop when you get back to that point. In this case, I started right on top of the mermaid tail. So that is once around, hit the bottom quick, done. I do think I have one little piece of orange glitter on here, so I'm going to watch for that. I don't know if I'll be able to spot it again, but it was sticking out right there. And I did not get it, so I'm going to watch for that to come around again. Because it is just unacceptable where it landed. I normally don't worry too much about stray glitter, but that orangey color just wasn't going to work on here. I'm just going to torch that area that I just peeled that glitter off so it can smooth back out. Okay, I'm going to turn this a little bit, grab you guys, and here we go. See how those scales look through there? So really the only thing I'm unhappy with is the spots where, like, from an angle I can see the adhesive I used. In some angles you can't see it, in some you can. Most people wouldn't realize that's what it is, but I can tell. So I am definitely going to try this again soon here and apply it in a different manner. But that is it. Thank you for watching.